to my channel, Mighty Sawdust, and I'm your host, Darius. Thank you for joining me on this episode. And you know what time it is today? It is miter time. Yes, it is time for the installation of the miter saw to this ultimate workbench. Yes, it is. The highlight of the workbench. Many of you have seen the teaser. Thank you for joining to see the actual build. And here is the conclusion. And as a bonus, if you stick around near the end, I'm also including the dust collection portion of this workbench. Alright, so here I'm just quickly dismantling the base so I can get the pieces I need trimmed down to the accurate size I need going forward. 32 1/8. Alright, now just transposing that measurement onto the 2x4, grabbing the speed square to draw a straight line. This makes it easier to line up with the saw. Well, now it's just to take the two 2x4s that you just cut and just do a dry fit. Make sure it slides right through there, that's not catching anything. Do the same thing with the second one. Everything is fine, so we are good to go to the next step. Alright, so basically the best thing to do is have the top on and utilize the table. Now, to see what I'm talking about is with this being down and hidden, I have all this space to work on in projects. Now I'm 6'6", that's my wingspan, so you can see there's a lot of space to work on. So we're basically ready to start assembling it. So you get your two long pieces that we just recently cut, grab the middle piece, get that lined up. Now we'll make the measurement to figure out where is the center, get that all lined up. I also left a template that was attached to it. Made it just easier to see the spacing that you need so you can bolt it back on. Now having your clamp ready, get your support pieces here. And the simplest thing to do is grab the wood that is actually used for your guides as like the little runners. This way you have your spacing, just so you have an idea of how much space, not too tight, then you just get everything squared and just make a mark just in case you hit it. So then you just get your speed square, make sure everything is correct, everything's lined up, everything's square. Get your clamp ready, clamp it down, do the same thing on the other side, and you're pretty much good to go. Everything looks good, everything's square, we're ready to roll. I just use the speed square to just kind of run across just to see that it is flush straight so that everything is good and you don't have any issues later on. Alright, so get your drill ready and start getting everything drilled in. I just realized a pretty cool idea. I could actually get like a piano hinge or something and actually have it set where the miter saw is coming up, and this will just lift it up by itself without compromising the flatness of the table. So yeah, when the miter saw is lifted, lifts this up. Now that would be a great idea. Alright, so the next step is get the RV jack attached to the base. And we're basically ready to get this thing bolted down. Once this is secure, alright, as you can see, the runners are in place. Got the base in there too. It is secured to the actual table itself. These aren't bolted in yet because I'm still playing around with the guide as this goes up and down, that there is enough friction so it can naturally go up and down with the help of the jack. Okay, we're ready to bolt it down. Everything's lined up, 29 inches, and there's about an 1/8 inch around of a little gap just to give you some play. And now to basically check all full motions of the saw once it's lifted. So far so good. I'm pretty much liking where it's positioned. Even with the dust collection, we should be good. And then check to make sure if it's going up and down, there's no snags. Looks good. All right, now time to grab the level and make sure everything lines up. All right, so there is the installation of the miter saw. Excuse the video production while making it. To explain more or less of what was going on, here's a couple little upgrades that I've done since the installation. Now, you'll notice that I have taken away the 2x4s, just a dado jig box and some random extras that are just stored here for now. But to compensate for the loss of that, because I realized that there's actually 2 jacks available to purchase, I ended up purchasing the 24-inch, not realizing that there was also the 30-inch. And by the time I realized it, it was too late to make the return or the exchange for the larger one. So I had to basically use what I had, and that's what was on the clip originally, was the 2x4s on the bottom, the 2 sets of them. Now here's the base of the frame itself. Now originally, let me get down there, is these two 2x4s. This one and that one. So these would have technically been up here. So this would have been sitting up a little bit higher. Now I've switched it where it's flush with the bottom, giving me pretty much this much more space. And that replaces one of the 2x4s that were originally on the bottom. As you can see, added actually 5 2x4s. It ain't pretty, but it gets the job done. And that lifted it a little bit higher. And actually what I did was actually used 2 sheets to get myself a little more height. Here's the actual original that's bolted to the 2x4s here. Let me get the aerial view. As you can see, there it is. It's a bit shorter, bolted down, everything's good. So that little 1/2 inch extra on the base gave me a little bit more leeway, and I didn't have to extend the RV jack all the way to the very top, hoping it would be all the way to the top and level. So those were the upgrades to the miter saw. So here is the dust collection on this workbench. It is a DIY version. This is what I've used. All right. So as I was doing this research on what to get for a dust collection and basically what you need for a DIY version, I found on Amazon a PowerTech 3-machine dust collection kit. I will put the description on the link. So it has 2 elbows, 2 45-degree angles. It has 2 of the Y connectors. And if you wonder why they're called Ys, it's shaped like a Y. And then the blast gates, which has 3 of them. And this kit actually includes about 20 key hose clamps. We've seen for a very long time are these things. It means that you need a screwdriver, or a hex, and then drill it tight for hoses. That's fine and dandy on regular pipes like a garden hose, stuff like that. The nice thing about these is they tighten just by hand, and they're kind of angled so they fit perfectly on these kind of hoses. Where you get between the grooves, and then you can tighten them up, and they're a lot more airtight versus these clamps. So I got about 20 to play with, and it's a DIY system where you would take some of your hose, cut it, and use that to connect to each flexible hose. Gives me a little more playroom, a little latency of any adjustments, especially when I plan on adding more to this table. Whenever I do upgrade the table to the next level. Currently I'm just trying to get the dust system set up so that I'm ready to work on a first project with minimum sawdust in the air. Granted, this channel is called by sawdust, but we try to keep it at a minimum for safety, health reasons, obviously. So, back to that. Yeah, let's get building. So the other thing to remember when you're doing your setup for the dust collection, obviously you're going to have all the hose connected to each component, and making sure when you're installing these Y clamps that the airflow is not going this way. If it's going in this direction, then obviously it's going to want to go in one or two directions. So depending on how you might have it set, better yet, obviously if your vacuum's this way, one of your tools go here. This is your other inlet from your other tools that would just keep going. So it's a easy airflow. There's no restrictions. Just like obviously you want to have a 45-degree angle and it's all nice and smooth inside versus actually a 98-degree angle, because then you're restricting the airflow. Let's get to work. So actually one thing I'm going to do is actually cut this 2x4 from here, flush with this. And do the same thing as basically cut the support piece, because now it's actually technically not needed. So here I am going to drill a 2-inch hole diameter here, lined up with my basket. That way it'll come out, have its space. If anything, I'll use the jigsaw to make it larger, but at least I'll have the hose, I'll have better access to it, and it'll be a curve. Alright, so here you can see the original shop vac and the new edition. It's a Stanley shop vac and it was on a budget, about 80 bucks. Picked this one up at Sam's Club, so I have both of them tied in. So here's the dust collection right there. So pretty much from the table saw, the miter saw gets connected here, goes through the wall. Here's my auxiliary one that I have that would be usually attached to the table saw top. I can make the adjustments right here. Ties into together, does its thing. The rest gets shot up, go back, and is powered by one hose is attached to this shop vac, DXV06G. This is the garage unit version, and then the other back hose to the other shop vac. So two shop vacs are powered, and here is the automatic vacuum outlet. So you have, this one has for two items. Outlets are table saw and miter. Top outlet is the actual 10-gallon, the Stanley version. And then the remote control powers this one. And it's pretty much time to probably switch out the bucket. Hopefully you'll hit the like and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you on all the next videos. See ya.